Uh, okay, so this red color board right here, this is the motor driver L293DN motor driver. This small board, that is the Arduino Nano, and this one again, it's a transmitter. It's actually a trans receiver. Here it will be functioning as a receiver part. I'll show the working in a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Can you guys see the lights on?
Yes, भैया.
Yeah. Okay. So, uh, this is the transmitter part. This is the receiver part, and as you do this, it'll work. It's completely based on gestures. Like you bend your hand forward, it'll go forward, right, left, turning. So the whole thing is actually controlled by this one, this blue color MPU6050 accelerometer. It detects all the gestures and then sends it to the Arduino, and then from the Arduino it is then sent to this transmitter part, which will then transmit the signals to the receiver part here. Yeah. So here this receiver will receive the signals and then they'll be transmitted to the Arduino Nano, right? And then the signals will then be transmitted to the motor driver, which will be controlling the motors, which are down here. Can you see them? Motors, DC motors.
Yeah, beside the wheel, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, just a minute. I'll show it properly. Yeah. Now it's visible. We'll be having 4 DC motors, each for a single wheel. And okay, yeah. We'll go to the PPT in a minute. One sec. Okay, right. Uh, okay, is my screen being shared?
Not yet.
Just. Tarun, are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Shall I try sharing the screen?
Tarun?
Yeah, I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible to us.
Hello.
Yeah, bro. Can you share the screen?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, now is it visible, guys?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah, sure. Raghavi. Raghavi. Just a sec, guys. Yeah, Raghavi, please start.
Guys, am I audible?
Yeah, like you could go
Yes,
on.
Bhaiya.
Okay, cool. So as I explained, that MPU 6050 accelerometer, that small board on the transmitter part of the glove, that yes. So it comprises of a three-axis gyroscope. We'll be explaining you what's a gyroscope and how it functions and all later. So it basically detects the hand gestures like the tilting and then sends these commands to the vehicle. Okay, like to the transmitter part. And then from the transmitter, those signals will go to the receiver part. And then come the Arduino Uno and Nano. These are like the most basic components for any electronic project. And yeah, so these both are having the same Atmega 328 microchip. And then come the NRF 24L01 wireless transmitter and receiver. Like they're basically the same module. And so I'll be using one for a transmitter and another one for receiver. Okay, so and L2989, sorry, 2989 H bridge motor driver. This is like it receives data from the Nano. It's like it's placed in the receiver part, and the signals which are relayed from the Arduino Nano, those are sent to this motor driver, which is like it controls all the motors, like their speed and how they'll be functioning and which direction they'll be going and all. And lastly, we'll be having a DC motors. And to power the whole project for the transmitter part, we'll be using a 9-volt battery, like the usual 9-volt batteries you get in the market. And as for the receiver part, we'll be having a battery connection of two 3.7 volt rechargeable cells. I guess you might have heard of them. Okay, so we'll be explaining the components for you now. This is how transceiver module looks like. The antenna, you'll always get it separate. You have to connect it them. And yeah, so it's designed to, this whole setup is designed to operate in a 2.4 gigahertz worldwide ISM. ISM stands for industrial, scientific, and medical. It's like they are received for, you know, all the unlicensed and very low powered equipments. It's like okay, these equipment, they act and they transmit and receive data on a particular frequency. You might call it a channel, and for like a transmitter and a receiver to be able to communicate with each other, they have to be in the same channel, right? This here is like the excuse me. Yeah. Okay, so the RF channel frequency is based on this formula you can see here. Frequency will be 2400 plus the channel you're using. Like for example, you'll be using a frequency of 108 as your channel for transmission and receiving. And like your channel total frequency will be 2508 megahertz. Right, guys? Tarun, next slide. Yeah. Okay. So this one is the MPO 6050 module. It's like it has a 3-axis gyroscope and digital motion processor integrated on a single chip. It's like a very useful chip and basically used in all applications where anything related to gestures and motions is used. It uses an I2C protocol for communication and transmitting of data. Like these MPU 6050 modules are generally used in gesture recognition, like I've used here, and zooming, scrolling, tab detection, and even in image stabilization. You might have heard in recent phones, you'll be getting the feature of image stabilization in your camera and video shooting. So most of those functions work on the basis of MPU 6050 module only. Tarun, next slide, bro. Okay, so this is a pin diagram. You'll have a total of 8 pins. First is the serial data, like the data transmitting and receiving part of the data takes place through this pin. Second would be the serial clock. It carries the clock signal from the I2C communication to the MPU 6050 module. The third will be the auxiliary serial data. It's the I2C master serial data pin. We'll be explaining how the I2C communication works shortly. This pin, auxiliary serial data pin, is used for connecting to external sensors. Like, yeah, bro. Okay. Next will be the auxiliary serial clock. This pin is also like similar to the serial data pin, but it's a I2C master serial clock pin. There's a difference between both of them. This pin is also used for connecting to external sensors, and yeah. Okay, then comes the I2C address select. This is like a slave address pin. If connected to VCC, like the power input, it is read as logic 1 and slave address changes. The slave and master slave will be explaining after this. Okay, interrupt pin. It's like a notification pin for the MPU. Like it notifies the MPU about the available data and all.
Yeah, okay. Like now we'll be discussing about the I2C protocol. Mainly, it is one of the most commonly used 3 protocols. The other 2 are UART and SPI. How this protocol works and when was it found, we'll be discussing it. So it stands for Inter-Integrated Protocol. It was originally designed by Philips in the year 1982, but now NXP, they are developing this protocol and they are adding features to it. Actually, it works on 2-wire only. One will be is SDA and another will be SCL. SDA stands for serial data and SCL is for serial clock. So with the help of these two wires, this communication works. Okay. So that this is also named as two-wire connection or two-wire communication. So mainly it works on the principle of master and slave. Here a master will be there, and to that master we could add up many slaves as we are like many number of slaves. Slaves here refers to the sensors, or it can be another microcontroller. So if you take this slide, like if you see this picture, right, here the master, it is Node MCU, it is a type of microcontroller. To this, you could connect multiple slaves. These are like the sensors, okay. So here it is, this is our like MPU sensor, this is for the display, LED display, and this is for the BME280 sensor. It's a temperature sensor. So now you will have the confusion of what is master and what is slave, right? Like, let me explain that. See, a master is a device which initiates the transfer or controls everything. Okay, whether the data should be transferred or not, whether to generate clock signal or not. So, and the slave is like the device which gets addressed by the master. So this is the SDA pin, and here it is the SCL output. So these two pins will always be high only. Like high in the case I'm referring to 1 in terms of digital. It will always stay high. So if the slave wants to communicate with the master, or the master needs to communicate with the slave, what happens is that this two pins is there, right? SDA and SCL will switch to 0. So it indicates that the master or the slave like is going to send data or receive data. So it's just like the beginning of the communication between those two, master and slave. So it is called as a start condition. Once the condition has been started, the slave has to share its address to the master to see which slave, because each slave will have its own slave ID. It's like a just unique number for each sensor to find out which sensor it is. And the address it will be of an 8-bit, sorry, 7-bit. So once the start condition is started, the address will be shared. So after that, the data writing will be the writing of the data happens. After that, acknowledgement happens that the data has been received or not. After that, again, like the data thing goes on. So this is the main principle how it works. So next, coming to the accelerometer, this chip, right, MPU6050, it consists of both accelerometer and gyroscope built in it. The accelerometer is mainly used for detecting the angle of tilt and inclination. So we do this in 3 axes. It is X, Y, and Z. Hope this like image is visible to you. So in this MPU6050, like they are adopting a technology named as MEMS. MEMS is nothing but like it's micro electromechanical technology. Here both electrical and mechanical system could work together. As the name suggests, you could see here it is micro. So it is 10 to the power of -6. It is highly minute. So you could embed it in a chip. So these are the axes, X, Y, and Z. So you could see here the angle. When the sensor is getting tilted, you could see the measured angle. So like we'll go how it works. Like I'll be explaining now. So this is the MEMS system that has been attached inside MPU6050 module. So these are basically the capacitors, like a parallel capacitor, right? So a parallel capacitor has 2 plates. One will be on its left side and the right side, right? So these are capacitors, common capacitors, and the blue ones, right? The blue ones are fixed plates, and the green ones are movable plates. So this is made up of polysilicon springs. So what happens is that whenever you take an phone, okay, in phone you have this tilt screen, right? So whenever you rotate the screen, the polysilicon springs moves to one direction. So we know that the formula for capacitor is epsilon A by D. So you could see here, right, this yellow color thing. Is it visible, guys?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
Bhaiya.
Yeah. So what happens is that, as I told you earlier, this blue color plates are fixed plates, and these green color plates tend to move to the direction in which you like tilt. So when you tilt in a right direction, these plates move to the right side. So the distance between the plates increases. So with the help of the distance, we could get the accelerometer, and this is the principle. This is the working principle of the accelerometer. Next, coming to the gyroscope. The main use of gyroscope is to detect the roll, pitch, yaw, and yaw of the system. Okay, let me explain what is roll, pitch, and yaw. So here you could see this aeroplane picture, right? This red color line indicates the x-axis, and this blue color line is for z-axis, and this green color line is for y-axis. Y-axis. Like whenever an plane tends to move, like tends to go up and down, it's called as a pitch, and whenever it goes to the left side and right side, it is called as a roll. So when this whenever it goes in the z-axis or rolls in the rotates in the z-axis, it is called as an yaw. So gyroscope mainly works on the principle of Coriolis effect. Uh, so here it is a definition of Coriolis effect. So what it means, whenever a mass is there, whenever a mass is moving in a particular direction with a velocity v, and angular rate is applied. Here this red color thing is angular rate, and it's applied externally. So whenever this angular rate is applied, this Coriolis effect generates a force that causes the perpendicular displacement of the mass. So always the displacement will be like perpendicular to this angular rate. So this is the formula for this Coriolis effect. Okay. So earlier in that slide, like we discussed for one mass, right? Here in this MEMS-based gyroscope, you will have 4 masses. So with the help of these masses, you will be like determining whether it is roll, pitch, and yaw. Okay. So we'll see like each condition, when it will be roll, when it will be yaw, and when it will be pitch. So when you apply an external angular rate in this x direction or an x-axis, due to the Coriolis effect, the displacement will be perpendicular to it, which is nothing but it will be in the direction of masses 1 and masses 2. So you could see this diff, right? It is constantly moving up and down. So when you apply this external angular rate in a x-axis, it creates an displacement in perpendicular to it, which is in masses 1 and masses 2. So this causes the roll angle. So it is called as a roll mode. Okay, now it is about the pitch. Pitch, when you apply the external angular rate in y-axis, So it will make the masses 2 and 4 to move upside down, like ups and down. So it makes a pitch angle, right? So this is the So whenever you give the external angular rate in the z-axis, every masses or every suspended masses, that is mass 1, mass 2, mass 3, and mass 4, will move. So with the help of this, you could calculate the angle. So digital motion processor. So what is the use of this motion processor is to calculate the values. So it receives the data from gyroscope and accelerometer. From that, it could it uses a formula, inbuilt formula, and gets the final output for us. So it generally gives the motion data like roll, pitch, and yaw, and whether it is in the landscape or portrait. This happens with the help of accelerometer, the landscape and portrait thing, and this roll, pitch, and yaw is with the help of gyroscope data. So you could integrate another sensor also, like external sensor also. Say for example, like it can be magnetometer. Magnetometer is used for getting the directions. It's like a compass. It gives us the direction north, south, and west and east. MPU 6050 does not has this module. Like when you opt for MPU 9050, it has an inbuilt module in it. So if you want to connect this magnetometer to this module, that is MPU 6050, you could use auxiliary pins like auxiliary serial data and auxiliary serial clock to attach this module to MPU 6050. So these are the different uses of MPU 6050. As I told you earlier, like this MPU 6050 is commonly used in our mobile phones, and whenever like you use Xbox modules, right? Like you have that Xbox game controllers or joysticks. So it comes in with an inbuilt MPU 6050. And this model is used for blur-free technology for video or still image, or for image. And nowadays we have like smart watches, right? In that also you could have. In that also MPU 6050 is there. And this model is mainly used for the gestures. So we are using this module in this robot also for finding the gesture. Yeah. Ragadeep.
Yeah. Okay. So this slide is based on the working of the whole project. So as I told, there are two parts: the receiver, a transmitter, and the receiver. So in the transmitter part, the MPU 6050, it detects the tilt and gesture from our hand, and it sends this data to the Arduino Uno, any board you can use. A Nano is depicted here, but basically you can use any Arduino board. So yeah, the gesture data is sent from MPU 6050 to the Arduino board, and those data is converted into RF signals and then sent to the transmitter part, which then sends these signals in form of RF waves to its counterpart in the receiver system, like the car. And from the receiver part, those signals are then converted and then sent to the Arduino Nano base there, which then converts these into commands for which the motor driver, the L298N motor driver, can understand and then release the data to that motor driver. This motor driver in turn controls the all the motors, like which direction they should go, the speed and the rotation and all. Tarun, next slide. Okay, yeah. As I showed you before, these are the gesture controls for the motion of the car: the backward, forward, left, and right gestures.
So now I'll be explaining you the coding part. So is it visible, guys? Like first we will talk about the, like I'll explain you the transmitter part code, and after that I'll go with the receiver part code. So here the transmitter part is a glow, like the one attached to the glow, right? Now we'll be discussing about it now. So here if you see, first we are including the necessary libraries for this robot, sorry, for this gesture control robot. Here the first one is SPI.h library. Like what is the use of this library? Means it enables like serial communication between the receiver and the transmitter, and SPI stands for serial peripheral interface. Next one is RF24.h. This library is also used for receiving and transmitting data between the receiver and the transmitter. Next is wire.h. Wire.h and I2C DV. These two libraries is used for especially it is used only for like I2C communication part. Okay, so if you want to so if you are going to deploy any I2C communication based sensors, then you should use these two libraries for communicating with the devices. Means communicating with the sensors from the microcontroller to the sensor. So in this case, we are using MPU 6050. Next, we are including the MPU 6050 library. So this is the main library for MPU 6050 IMU sensor. So next thing is we are going to declare the variables. So here you could see it is integer 16t. Here integer int stands for integer, and this 16t is nothing but it specifies that it is a 16-bit integer, and t is for type. Okay, so we are declaring ax, aoy, and az. So these three is mainly for the accelerometer in x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. And again, we are declaring it for the gyroscope part. So gyroscope, we are declaring it with G, just to differentiate between these two. So we are declaring it for the three different axes, that is GX, GY, and GZ. Okay. So next thing is we'll be creating the data packet. So here you could see like we have mentioned data of 2. So it specifies that it goes for the direction of x-axis and x-axis and y-axis. So here data 0 will be for the x-axis and the data 1 will be for the y-axis part. So our next one will be like RF24 radio 9,10. So what we are doing in this code is that we are enabling the CE and CSN pins. The CE pin is used to control data transmission speed. This pin, actually, this thing is used for transmitting data through like radio frequency between the transmitter and the receiver part. So whenever you use these two modules, transmitter and the receiver module, you have to like specify this thing. Okay. So here the 9th pin will be for the CE. CE means it is used to control the data transmission speed, and the 10th pin is for CSN. CSN is basically used for sending the data from either from transmitter to receiver or from receiver to the transmitter. So it is compulsory to declare these pins. So this transmission and receiving of data takes place through a unique address, and then you could see here like we have mentioned it a unique address. So the data transmission and the communication between these two modules will only take place through this address. So next up we are like setting up. We are going into void setup part. Like we are initializing every part. Here serial.begin 9600. I guess this particular code is familiar for all of you. Like, can anyone explain what it is? What is the use of serial.begin and why it is specifically like we are mentioning 9600? Why it can't be any other value?
That is the baud rate.
Yeah. So what is meant with baud rate?
Like how many times the signals will be sent per second. So it should be common for both devices so that they can communicate at same rate.
Yeah, it's correct. Like it's nothing but 9600 bits per second. So it will start transmitting from the microcontroller to the serial monitor of Arduino IDE. So then we are moving to next part. So wire.begin is for initializing this particular library. As I told you earlier, this will be used for communicating I2C communication things. And we are initializing the MPU, means we are powering up it. And we are beginning the radios also. This is for the transmitter and receiver part. So this code sets the address of the receiver to which the program will send data. Okay. Next, we are moving to like void loop. So if you see here, we are just saying like mpu.get motion 6. This command is used for getting the values. So here it is for 6-axis, so we are mentioning it. And this get motion command is used to get the values from the integers what we have declared earlier here. So we have discussed this data part here, right? Like a data packet part. So now you could see here we have given two parts. So here data 0 is for the x-axis and data 1 will be for the y-axis. So here x-axis.
Tarun,
Yeah.
can you zoom in a bit?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, is it visible, guys?
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, sure, okay. So here in x-axis, like it will enable you to control the car to move forward and backward. And similarly in y-axis, you could move left and right. Okay. So we are setting this map command is used to set the range. So we are setting the range here. So when you use this command radio.write, it just starts sending the information to the receiver part from the transmitter part, so that the receiver will respond to the data which has been provided by the transmitter. So this is about the transmitter part, guys. So now this code is for the receiver part. It is a robot like. So as I told in the earlier part, SPI.h is a serial communication now between this transmitter and receiver. This library used for this purpose, and RF24.h is also like the main library which is used for receiving and transmitting the data between the transmitter and the receiver. So next we will be declaring the enable pins of the motors. Enable pins is nothing but powering up pins. Okay, like what happens is whenever an enable pin is declared and it's working, one part, right? Here you could see we are declaring two enable pins. So it means that one enable pin will take care of the one side of the motor, and another enable pin will take care of the another side of the motor. Means you have two sides, right? In right you have upper motor and the right down motor, and in left side you have two motors, left up motor and left down motor. So enable A will take the control of this right side part, and enable B, that is the pin 5 number pin, will take care of the left side thing. So when you should declare this, whenever it is declared and the code start running, this will power up the motors. So next up, we'll be declaring the integer for each motor. So here you could see like a motor, like a right down motor is declared with 2, and right up motor is declared with 4. And similarly, we are declaring the integers for left motor and left up motor and left down motor. Next up, we should like fix the speed of this motors. So we are fixing the speed of this right motor to be 130 and the left motor to be 150. So next we are defining the packet. So with the help of this, you could receive the data from transmitter part. Okay. Here again, data 0 is for the x-axis and data 1 will be for the y-axis. Here it is 2. 2 indicates the number of things. Okay. So again, RF24 radio 9,10. It's nothing but the CE and CSN pin. Here the CE pin is used for the data transmission speed, like in which speed the data should be transmitted from the transmitter to the receiver, and the CSN thing is used for receiving the data or sending the data. Like usually in transmitter and receiver, data will be sent from the transmitter and it will be received by the receiver, right? Okay. So these two pins are used for those purposes. Again, so these things happen in a particular address, right? This is that address. So this is the reading pipe. In void setup, like we are declaring the pin mode and like how it should be, whether it is output or the input. So here you could see these are the motors from IN1 to IN4. Those are the 4 different motors. So we are making them as the output. And this is the enable A pin and enable B pin. Like after that, we begin the program. So we are setting up these things. So here you could see radio.start listening, right? So the receiver part will get the start getting the data from the transmitter part. So now let's move on, like how the robot moves, whether it should be forward or backward, like what are the conditions for those things we'll be discussing now. So now first, inside the while loop, we are checking first whether the like data is being received or not. If in that case, if the data is being received, the motor should like it should respond, right? The robot should start responding to the gesture from the transmitter part. So here we are setting up each values for forward, backward, and left and right motion for the robot. So whenever you get a value of about 380 from the x-axis, here data 0, right? So it is from the x-axis. So what happens is, right? What happens here is like we'll be enabling the left side and right side motor, and we will keep 1 and 3 as high and 2 and 4 as low. So here 1 and 3 as high, so that the first part, like the forward 2 motors are there, right? Like, are you people getting me? The first 2 motors of the robot will start moving. So similarly, if you want to move your robot to backward, then it should be like less than 310. So whenever it is less than 310, it starts moving backward. Here you could see like we are keeping iron 2 and iron 4 as high, and we are lowering the two other motors. The same thing will apply for the left and right. So left and right is for the y-axis. So we are using data 1. So whenever the data received from this y-axis is greater than 180, what happens here is it will start moving in the left. And for the left direction, again we are powering up this iron 1 and iron 4 as high, and we are keeping iron 2 and iron 3 as low. Here like iron 1, iron 2 and iron 3 and iron 4 is nothing but like I could show you here just right. So these are the notations for it. Like iron 1 is for the right backside motor, and iron 2 is for the right front motor, iron 3 is for the left forward motor, and iron 4 is for the left backward motor. So again, in case of if you want to move to right, we just keep this second one and the third one, right? So that is the right forward motor and the left forward motor to be high, so it turns right. So whenever like your data is not between these cases, that is like we have declared this if case for each motion, right? Whenever your data doesn't belong there, it will immediately stop the car. And here it will power off the left side of the here like enable A pin and enable B pin. It will automatically power off these two pins. So that's it, guys.
Okay, cool. So, guys, now that you've got the basic idea of the working, can you like name any few real life applications of the more gesture sensing and all? Anyone? Hello?
For tracking purposes. So like if there is a like face tracking camera, and if a motor is attached to it, so like as I move and I might wear a what do you call that, an specs or something with a small like accelerometer attached to it. So as I move my head, the motor of the what do you call it, camera, which is far away, can be actuated, and like the camera can move accordingly.
Awesome, nice, cool. Anyone else?
We can use this project in the places where a man can't enter, so that by attaching a camera to the vehicle, we can control the vehicle by using our hand.
You mean surveillance, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Right. That's it. Anyone else got any other ideas?
I have like we had one project back in school. Like we used this gesture thing to change the tabs of a website. It was just a fundamental thing, but it can be used there also. Like with the move of the hand, if it's on the left side, then it will move to the previous tab and all.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Nice. So, do you guys have any doubts regarding the presentation? I think Sarthak Mishra, right?
Yeah, yes.
You asked a doubt. Is your doubt clear now?
Yes, yes, it got clear. I've got like another doubt.
Yeah.
Like regarding the pipe, you gave a 16-bit address or 32-bit address for it. Like you stated some register, right? For sorry, address for the pipe.
Yeah, Tarun.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's 64.
Okay, so it is 64, right? So
Yeah,
I did
64
not
bit integer.
understand. Yeah. Okay, I did not understand why it is LL is written at the very end. And I think it is not some notation or something. I do not understand.
Okay, like you're asking the like address, right? The
Yeah,
one which was displayed in hex.
yes.
It's just like a combination, unique combination. Like it's not, it need not to be so specific. It's just a unique combination of this 64 bit so that you could communicate in that address.
Okay, so like my doubt was, so this address should be same for both the Arduinos,
Yeah,
according
it
to
should be
you.
same. It should be same.
Okay, okay. So another doubt I had was like the packet size, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what packet size, like, how much data were you taking at what interval from the sensor, from the accelerometer? I did not understand that part. Like, because like the accelerometer will continuously send a stream of data. So you were selecting some sizes of data. So like, could you just explain that part just again? I do not. I'm new to this.
Yeah. So like for that only we are specifically telling the range, right? Like here we are mapping the thing, right? Uh, like just a sec, I'll just share it and show you. So here you could see. So we are just considering the values above 380. Like below that, it will not be. Uh, Nothing will happen. So uh, whenever a value above 380 comes in, it will start moving forward. Like that's how we are differentiating these four movements, whether it is a forward, backward, or left and right thing.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. If I have some doubt, I will ask you later, like after looking the code.
I had one doubt in this one.
Yeah,
Like,
which
how
one?
do we set it like 380, 310 and all?
That
State
it's
of
like,
zero and all.
yeah, like you're saying the value, right, for the forward, backward, right, and left,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Backward, forward.
So it basically depends on how much sensitive you want your gestures to be. Like
Is
you
it
want
like
it
the angle or is it some other value?
kind of like angle. You can consider it an angle, but not like the typical angle. It's a bit different. Like it's based on if you want to move your robot at the slightest gesture, you might have to put it at a higher value. You understand, right?
Yeah,
Like
understood.
it depends on your sensitivity of receiving the gestures of MPU 6050. That depends on that value right there.
Okay.
So if we put the limit at lower one, like I think it was some 310 or something, right? So if you put it around some 250, say for example, even with the slightest movement of your hand, your robot will start moving.
Okay, it gives the sensitivity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anything else, guys? Like,
Oh, any more doubts? Anyone?
Yeah, I had this small doubt that the library standard libraries for SPI, IC2 and all that you like initiated at start of every program. So do we have to separately download this or is it already available in Arduino program?
no, like you have to like separately download it. Like just a second. Let me show you. So like so here if you see you could see the sketch tab, right? Just want to click it. After that you should go for include library, then go for manage library. Okay, so you will see a like window popping up. Just a sec. See, so this is the library manager. Here you will have like default like the inbuilt libraries for Arduino. Here you could select what library you wanted to install. Say it for here you could use this search and yeah, now it is good to go. Here you could search for each library. Now if I go for SPI and click enter, here it will show the libraries like so. Here you could see ASSPI. These are the already like built-in libraries. So from here you could download the necessary libraries for your project.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so I think is that it for doubts? Anyone? That's it, right? So we'll be sharing the codes and the circuit diagrams in the WhatsApp group. Anyone interested can try out the project at their home. And if you have any doubts, like if multiple people approach us, we'll keep another session for the doubts exclusively. All right, guys?
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Bhaiya.
Cool. Yeah, you can leave now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This code channel in which WhatsApp group it will be shared? I'm not in anyone.
You're not in anyone?
Yeah, I
We
saw
shall
the
not-
link and joined.
Okay, so you can just put your number here. We'll send you per
Okay.
person.
Okay.
Like you are in this SPS unofficial group, right? And in IEEE SPS second year group.
No, I'm not in IEEE thing.
Oh, okay, fine then. Yeah.
It's okay, bro. Just put your number here. We'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Is
the
there
chat
any
box.
recruitment thing?
Yeah, it will be on December probably, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, in a few months.
Yeah, we'll be notifying you about our recruitment. Just follow our social media handles. So in that we'll be posting the dates and timings.
Yeah, I've sent the number.
Yeah, sure. We'll send it to you by tonight. Is that all right?
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, bro. Fine.
Sanskar, you can stop the recording.